Hi, I'm Emily. Welcome to episode 21 of Holding the Sticks, a hockey themed fiber arts podcast. Hi, everyone, and welcome to my living room here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. Like I said, my name is Emily. You can find me on Plurk and Twitter as Emily3022 and on Ravelry as Shanti Dragon. The podcast has a Ravelry group called Holding the Sticks, and I would love it if you would join me there. Thank you for coming back, all of you viewers who watch me every week or even just occasionally. And if it's your first time watching me, then thanks for checking me out. Um, Today is very rainy and overcast, and the lighting is very not so good. We'll put it that way. I thought about recording out on the porch, but the rain started really coming down, and I don't want to risk my electrical equipment out there if the wind should shift and go the wrong way. I do, however, have the windows and doors open, so you can probably hear the rain in the background, or you may hear it as time goes on here. And you may also hear the sounds of my neighborhood, dogs and birds, and I've heard the neighbor's donkey start to bray a few times. It's one of my favorite sounds. It makes me giggle. All kinds of sounds. So I hope that doesn't bother anybody. From what I heard last time, the feedback was that the background noise that I have here in my living room is not bothersome, so I'm really happy to hear that. Just gives me more options, and believe me, the light here is way better than what I would have in the craft room today, so that's why I decided to record out here today. It's been a couple of weeks. As you all know, I spent last weekend in Raleigh with my mom and decided um, to skip last week for recording. Just a lot of things going on. I needed a little break. So, but I'm back now. And before I forget, I should mention that I am wearing my Citron shawl. This was published in Knitty a couple of years ago. The Citron was designed by Hilary Smith Callis, and the yarn that I used, everybody wants to know because of the way that it kind of fades from pink into green. This is Woolly's Yarn Creations Color Changing Cotton. And I used one skein. It was 480 yards. I used almost the entire skein. I maybe had a little ball about that big left over. And it's the colorway Magnolia. She has an online shop. I'm not sure if it's at Etsy. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen here. I will put the name of the yarn on the screen anyway because I'm not sure I'm saying it correctly. So that'll help you find it if I don't get that on the screen here. So it's one of the favorite things I've ever knitted. I have a lot of favorite things that I've knitted, but I love the little ruffle, and it's a nice light cotton shawl, just enough to drape over my shoulders here on this rainy Monday. And today is Monday, May the 20th, 2013, by the way. With that, we will have my fiber arts projects in progress. I have one spinning project that I finished. I will talk a little bit about some minor hockey penalties and just a little bit about what's going on in my neck of the hockey world, a little bit about the playoffs, NHL playoffs, and I will touch a little bit on my fitness week as it was. Um, there will be an equipment room today. I think the first period is going to be the longest one today, so I know several of you will be happy about that. The other two periods, well, I should never try to say one way or the other because I never know for sure, but I think they'll be a little shorter. So, all right, let's get right on into it, shall we? Okay, welcome to the first period. We are in the zone with several objects that I have on my needles. and we've got a lot of developing play going on, and no finished knitting this week, but I do have some finished spinning, so let's get right into my first project here. Last episode I showed you that I was going to make the Spring Garden Tea by Alana Dakos, and I have finished knitting that. This is what it will look like when it's all finished and blocked and everything. I used the Michaels Snuggly Wuggly brand baby yarn to make mine because I wasn't sure what the sweater would look like on me, and I didn't want to spend a lot of money on something that would make me look like a sausage. So I just used a more budget-minded yarn for the first one, and I may do this one again. Like I said, this is not finished because the ends are not woven in. I haven't blocked it yet. Um, when that when everything is finished, I will probably wear it on the episode if the weather is conducive. But this is what it looks like so far. Like I said, I have finished knitting the whole sweater, or top, or whatever you want to call it. It's a summer top. And it's just a plain garter stitch hem. It's all curled up. See, I need to do, since this is an acrylic yarn, I will need to steam block this, and that will be a little bit of a production. So that's why it hasn't been done yet. I almost decided to put off recording until I could get it done, but then I just really wanted to get an episode out, so I did not do that. As far as the needle sizes, this is a DK yarn. I used, the pattern only calls for 2 different sizes of needle. I got a little bit creative because I had trouble getting gauge. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Still working on my first cup of tea this morning. Everyone, feel free to pause the show and go get yourself something wonderful to drink or even eat while you're watching. Needle sizes. The pattern calls for, I believe it was a size 6 and a size 5. I can't remember now. Since I had trouble getting gauge, I got creative, like I said. I did the neckline in just maybe 1 or 2 rows after the neckline on a size 3 needle to make that nice and tight. I switched to size 4 shortly after that. Through the bust, and then after the bust decreases and then a little bit of, actually it was waist decreases, but I moved those up as well. I'll talk about that in a minute. After those decreases, I switched to a size, actually it was after the decreases and the increases, I switched to a size 6 needle for the bottom part because that's where I am the widest. So it actually fits really well. I'm very happy with it. I'm a little bit concerned about how the front of it drapes, but I'm hoping that blocking will fix that right up. I may be showing this to you backwards. It's hard to tell. No, I think that's right. As you can see, it curls a lot, so I'm not sure how it's going to look after it's blocked. As far as the decreases went, they were waist decreases, but since I am smallest right under my bust, I did the decreases up higher, give it more of an empire shape, and it turned out, I think it turned out really well. So after I get this steam blocked, I will wear it on the next show, hopefully. Again, this was the Spring Garden Tea in the adult sizes by Alana Dakos. Very well written pattern. I didn't have any trouble at all with it. So there it is. This is the candy pink colorway of that Snuggly Wuggly Michaels baby yarn. Alright. I cast on a couple of new things. I did not work on my blankets at all this week. I know I'm supposed to be doing that for the finish along that's going on in the podcast group, but I got sidetracked. So like I said, last weekend I went and saw Mom, and I bought her some yarn for Mother's Day. And I left it over there, so let me go grab that real quick. Okay, sorry about that. I bought Mom some yarn for Mother's Day and some chocolate too, but the yarn was the main part. And I told her that she could save the yarn to knit after she's feeling better, or that I would knit whatever she wanted with it. for her now. And she chose for me to knit a shawl for her because she's always chilly. And so I showed her the pattern that Lady Fernico on Ravelry, her name is Marlisha, gave to me last week. I know I mentioned that last week as well. So let me get the yarn here. Sorry about that, I'm just all discombobulated today. So this is the yarn. It's showing up, so-so. If you think about the 1980s fashion, this yarn is really close to those colors. It's got a hot pink and a turquoise and a lime green. It just made me smile to look at it, and actually it made Mom smile too when she took it out of the bag, so I think I did good. And then this will be the other color of yarn. This is Bamboo Pop by Universal Yarns. It is, I believe, a DK weight. It's the 3, the little yarn symbol with the 3. I don't know if that'll show up or not. Probably not. Here it is. See, with the 3? I never know if that's sport or DK. I think it can be either one. It's a lightweight yarn, heavier than a fingering, lighter than a worsted. And it's 50% cotton, 50% bamboo, and there are 292 yards in each ball. So I bought one of each, like this. And the pattern that Marlisha gave me is the Ito, which is actually ITTO with periods between each letter, but I'll just call it Ito for ease. And it was designed by Kitman Figueroa. It says Kitman Figueroa Designs. I don't know if that is the name of the person. I think it is. Anyway, here is, if I can get it to focus, we'll be doing good here. Without giving anything away either. Oh, there's nothing to give away on the front page. There we go. So it's a 2-color shawl, and it's kind of done backwards from the way I would have thought. I would think that you would want the lace in the solid color and the garter stitch in the variegated, but I decided to give it a try something new. You never know, you might like it. So I am doing it the way the pattern says to do it, with the variegated yarn as the lace you cast on from the bottom up. And this just looks like a big mess right now because you know how lace is. You have to block it to really see how it'll look finished. But that is, the colors are showing a little bit dulled down. There we go. Just because my lighting is not so good today. That is a hot bright pink, a bright turquoise, and a lime green, like I said. We'll see how this turns out. If this turns out to be a little too wild for Mom, then I'll make her something else. Like I said, though, the colors are really making me smile. They make me think of Sock Bunny, Kimberly, who does the Sock Bunny Knit and Fit podcast, because she loves these bright colors. And so do I. So that is the Ito shawl. I am using size 11 needles for the lace part of it, and I decided I would get my, this was the first set of interchangeable needles I had. This is the Denise set of needles, the pink ones, because I hadn't used them in a long time, and I just wanted to see if they were something that I would enjoy using still, or if I need to maybe destash them. Actually, I am liking them pretty well. I think my main problem is I don't enjoy knitting with a smaller yarn on a bigger needle, because I don't think the problems that I am having would be solved with a different set of needles. I think it's just the big needles and the little yarn that's kind of driving me batty. It's not unenjoyable, it's just a little slower than I would like. We all know how that goes. Alright, one more knitting project on my needles. A little developing play here. I started another pair of summer socks for myself. This is the finished one. And this is made with Wendy Happy sock yarn. It's a bamboo nylon blend, I believe. See if that ball band is right here. I don't think it is, but we'll look. I don't see it. But yes, and I know it is the Windy Happy, and I know there's no wool in this yarn. It's bamboo and viscose or bamboo and nylon. This is the Taurus colorway, like the astrological sign Taurus. So I finished that first sock, have to weave in the ends obviously, and then I've got this much done of the second sock. This is my playoff hockey knitting at the moment. I tried to knit a little bit on Mom's shawl and that didn't go well while I was watching hockey. I have to pay too much attention. So these are just plain vanilla socks on size 1.5 US needles, and I'm using just a regular, it's toe up. I'm using the regular, not a short row toe, just the regular toe with a short row heel and a 2x2 ribbing for the cuff. So there is that little project. And I have a spinorama today. I finished the Godiva Yarns fiber that I showed you last week. Here's what it looked like before it was spun. And here's what it looks like all spun up. Those colors are showing pretty true. Now if you'll remember, I decided I would intentionally spin this with a lot of barber pulling. I haven't decided yet whether I like that or not. So it was 4 ounces of Falkland. The colorway was FALK0794. She doesn't do fancy names for her colors usually. I got 585 yards of a 2-ply. I'm thinking this is probably a true fingering weight, maybe even a light fingering weight, which I was trying to spin thicker, but being used to spinning a 3-ply yarn, that thick wasn't thick enough. Let me unwind that for you, give you another view. Here we go. Here we go, lots of the barber pulling going on. The way I spun it, I think may have been a fractal spin, but I don't know if technically, I don't know my terms very well. I divided the braid in half, just lengthwise. I divide it in half. I don't split it in half because I never get equal amounts that way, so I fold the whole braid of fiber in half and then I break it in the middle. One half of it I spun straight, just straight from that thing, and the other half I split up into little bits and spun so that I would get the maximum barber pole effect here. I think it came out pretty well balanced. It's been tied up in its little hank for a while, so it's hard to tell, but it's hanging pretty straight. I'm not sure what I will knit with this. If it were not a feltable wool, I would probably make socks. This will probably wind up being a shawl or something like that. So there is that. I have not started spinning anything else yet because I'm going to hopefully participate in the Knitables spin along with Into the World. I pre-ordered some of the Downton Abbey colorway, so I'm super excited about that. I've never spun any Into the World. I've never ordered any of her fiber. Seems like I can never get any because it's always sold out, so that was exciting to be able to do. I won't receive that till the beginning of June, I believe, so I'll show you when I get it. Okay, let's go into the equipment room for a little bit here. I had a very bountiful week, or 2 weeks really, for the equipment room. I was the recipient of some gifts and I earned another fitness prize, or yeah, fitness prize, we'll just call it that. So I will show you those things now. If it's your first time watching, the equipment room is where I show you new yarns or fibers or fiber arts tools that I have acquired, so or even patterns sometimes. So I have received a couple of gifts, 3 to be exact, and I'm so thankful. The first one, I believe, I'm just sitting here trying to figure out where to start, and I think I will start with the gift that my friend Jenny sent to me, and I was absolutely blown away. It actually made me cry. I was having a bad day, and you know, you go to the mailbox and there's something like this in the mailbox, and it just makes you feel so much better. But anyway, Jenny is a friend of mine. She's a member of our Ravelry group. A lot of you may know her, and she's a fellow Checkers hockey fan with me. So um, she's just a sweetheart. I received from her knitting bag. This is the knitting bag she made. She made a whole bunch of them, and I think she must have seen my last week's episode and had seen my sorry excuse for a knitting bag. She sent me this one with mustaches, and the inside is green, my favorite color. It's wonderful. I'm actually keeping my Ito shawl in here. So thank you so much, Jenny. There was something else she sent me as well, but that is something I will share a little bit later. But along with those two things she sent, she also, this is what really blew me, well, the bags blew me away too, because they're so neat, and she made them herself. But this is amazing. Jenny sent me a skein of Wollmeise, and this is not showing up true to color at all. This is a deep, deep burgundy red, purplish, reddish. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's 100% Merino Superwash in a weird different colorway. Reminds me of a nice Merlot wine, so I wish that color would show up better because it's so beautiful. I think it's just one of those colors that cameras, it's a little bit truer to color back here, but still not quite there. It's just one of those colors that's hard for a camera to pick up. These lighter areas that are showing up are almost like a deep fuchsia, almost. Just gorgeous. Thank you so much, Jenny. I so appreciate it. The other thing she sent I will show next week, hopefully, but it's a surprise. So, okay, the other gifts that I received, as y'all know, my husband, maybe you didn't know, I don't remember if I said this or not. My husband went to Connecticut to visit his family for a week, and he and his mom went to the yarn shop in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. It's a yarn shop I've been to several times when I visited. It's a wonderful shop. I love it. It's Saybrook Yarn. There's their little card. If anybody is local to that area, definitely go check them out for sure. My in-laws live a couple of towns over from there, so I always make it a point to go to that yarn shop. I remember the first time I went there, the plan was that I was going to go to Webb's the next day, so I was afraid to buy anything because I was going to go to Webb's. I wound up buying stuff anyway, and I still have some of it. I haven't knitted up yet. Shame on me. But, so my husband picked up a skein of yarn for me. It is so beautiful, you guys. This is Zohar's socks. 65% superwash merino wool, 35% bamboo, 420 yards. It's in the colorway Rose Collage. And there it is. So pretty, and those colors are coming out pretty close to true. I will probably knit myself some socks or a shawl with that. And I'll show you the tag a little bit better there so you can see. Or maybe not. Camera's going to be persnickety today. It's been giving me focus problems anyway. There we go. So, there's that. And then my mother-in-law, who is now watching the podcast, I understand. Hi, Mom! She bought for me a skein of sparkly yarn. It's got some random fibers on there. This is Ellen Cooper's Yarn Sonnets. Hand-dyed yarns. This is a local, I believe they're both locally dyed in the area in Connecticut. I believe the colorway is Tinkerbell's Gold. 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina. We girls and our sparkles, right? It's a 2-ply, and the colorway, well, I don't know if the colorway, I think the colorway is Tinkerbell's Gold. Because there's a sticker on here that says Cool Rooster too, and I could see this being a roostery colorway. I'm not sure, but it's beautiful. That's the bottom line, is that it's beautiful. You see this? Actually shows truer to color back here, and you can see that sparkle. It's got this navy blue and a deep green and some rusty, what's that, fiber again, like a rusty color, a little bit of lighter green. Oh, it's just so pretty, and some gold too. So this, I imagine, will be a shawl, not socks. I have a pair of sparkly socks, and they're fun, but I like to show off my sparkle. I don't know about y'all. So those are all of the gifts that I received over the past couple of weeks. And then I also earned a new fitness reward. And just so happened the day that I earned that fitness reward that Highland Handmade had a shop update, and I have never caught one of those before. So I was pretty excited. I went and looked just to see what she had, since I had a little bit of money to spend as my fitness reward. And I found 2 bumps of fiber. These are both her Highland Handmade's Pitch Pine Top Corriedale Cross. Both of these are the Corriedale Cross, 4 ounces each braid. The first one is called In Search of Dragons. Ooh, that's showing up perfectly as far as the color goes. This one I'll probably try and do the barber pole and try and spin it a bit thicker this time. If I can't wait for that fiber that I ordered to arrive for the June spin along, I will probably go ahead and put this on the wheel next. So it is like a turquoise blue and a kind of a goldeny brown. There's a little bit of green in that brown as well, depending on the light. So you see back here it looks a little bit greeny yellow, and a little closer it looks a little more golden, so it's very pretty. The other braid that I ordered is called Classin' It Up, and there it is. Really excited to spin that too. I'll probably do this as a Navajo ply, 3-ply, just to keep those colors together. Don't want them to get too muddied up. We'll see. I may change my mind. So those are all of my goodies. I also purchased the Knit to Flatter book that all the podcasters have been talking about, and I'm reading through that right now. I'm not going to review it because it seems everybody else did already. Knit to Flatter is by, I have it over there, Amy Herzog, and it talks about how to do the shaping in your garments to best accentuate what assets you have as far as your figure goes. So I'm learning a lot about that. I've always known I'm kind of a bottom heavy person, so I haven't done the photography things. She tells you to take a photo of yourself, and then you draw lines on the photo to figure out what your body type is, and then she tells you how to knit garments that will direct the eye away from your problem areas and towards your more good areas or whatever. It's been really helpful, the little bit that I've read so far, so I'm excited, and there's some really nice patterns in there too. All right, now that I've blabbered on and on about the fiber arts, which that's what we're here for, right? We'll get into the second period, and I'll talk a little bit about my fitness this week. All right, second period training room. I've had a really good couple of weeks for my fitness, and really glad. As you know, I've had trouble with the weather being too bad for me to run. It has warmed up enough now. It's been rainy on and off. It's been rainy a lot, actually, but I have been able to run on a regular basis, and I am just finished with week 2 of the Couch to 5K. I decided to start that training program over. I went through the whole program last year, ran my first 5K in October, and then I had to take a few months off in the winter. So what I'm doing is pushing my pace on the running intervals so that I will hopefully have a faster time overall once I get to the solid running, the 3 miles of running. That 5K is about 3.1 miles. So I ran 6 times since the last time I saw you. That's over 2 weeks. I usually will run 3 days a week and then do other fitness things on the other days. I've spent a little bit of time on the bike, and I even got to jog in Raleigh when I was visiting Mom. She lives in a wonderful neighborhood for jogging. I enjoyed it so much. Kind of look forward to doing that again. Of course, it'll be warmer the next time I'm down there, and we'll see how I deal with that. Last year, I had to really be careful because I was taking that diuretic for my blood pressure, and it caused me to overheat very easily. So if it was above about 70 degrees, I would have to be super careful not to get overheated. I have run in 75-degree weather already and not had a problem at all. So I am hopeful that I'll have more tolerance for heat in this summer as I'm training. I have, well, I'm hoping, this was my hope last year too. I really hope to run the Friesen 5K. It's usually in September. This is a race sponsored by the Carolina Hurricanes trainer, Pete Friesen. It usually raises money for, I think last year it was lymphoma. It may be different every year. Um, I haven't heard anything about it yet, and they usually announce it around about June or July, so you can start fundraising and stuff for the race. So I'm super excited about that. I had hoped that would be my first 5K, but didn't happen because of the lockout, and Pete Friesen had a lot going on last fall, so he didn't do the race. Mom has said she might even run it with me, or she's going to walk it, but it would be really cool to be able to do that with her if she's feeling up to it. And I'll tell you, of course, give you a little update on Mom when I get into the post-game chatter. So really happy with the fitness. Like I said, I've been on my exercise bike, and my husband and I have started every now and then, about once a week, just putting on some crazy music and dancing in our living room, and really, really boogieing down, and that's a really fun way to get a workout too. So just to mix things up a little bit, you know what I mean? So that's it for fitness this week. Let's get right on into just a little bit of hockey talk, shall we? Time to drop the puck for the third period and a little bit of hockey talk. I'm going to start with some Hockey 101 today, continuing with the minor penalties that I've been telling you all about. We'll start with the instigator penalty today. Instigator penalty is related to a fighting penalty. Now, believe it or not, in hockey, fighting is illegal and will land you in the penalty box. I know hockey has a reputation for, there's the old joke, I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. So fights do happen a lot. I'll talk more about that fighting penalty when I talk about major penalties. Instigator penalty is a minor penalty that would go along with a fighting major for the person who started the fight, or for a third person who gets involved in the fight. I believe that is also an instigator penalty. You will see often before a fight breaks out, if you really watch a hockey game, you'll see two guys kind of talking to each other, maybe before a puck drops or something like that. And then all of a sudden, when the whistle or when the puck drops, they will drop their gloves and start fighting each other. One of the reasons for that little, pre-fight discussion is, hey, they're saying, hey, you want to go? You want to fight? And they'll agree to it. That way, neither one of them will get an instigator penalty if they both drop their gloves at the same time. There are a lot of reasons for fighting in hockey, and again, I'll talk about that when I talk about the fighting major penalty. And I know y'all can hear that hound dog barking in the background. I apologize for that. Nothing I can do. He belongs to the neighbors. He goes off every now and then, and you know how hound dogs are. He sounds kind of like a seal. Orp, orp, orp. Anyway, I don't know his name yet. He's kind of a new addition to their family. They have two hound dogs over there. Joy is a very quiet little thing, and this fella is not so much quiet. They are coon hunting dogs, I believe, judging from the training I've seen them doing with them. Anyway, talking about hockey here. Instigator penalty is 2 minutes added on to a 5-minute major for fighting. If you get the instigator penalty, you will also be given a 10-minute misconduct penalty. So you don't want to go starting fights. Um, I see all the time where it's obvious which person started a fight and they don't call the instigator penalty. I don't think it's one they call very often. If the resulting fight appears to be where both combatants are willing participants, I don't think they'll usually call the instigator. However, if two guys are fighting and a third guy jumps in, that will be called every time. Um, so that's what instigator penalty is. The next penalty I wanted to talk about is interference. In hockey, the rule is that you are not allowed to check or impede a player who does not have the puck in his possession. So if you do that, then you will be called for a 2-minute minor for interference. This is very similar, or it sounds similar to goaltender interference, and I believe I covered that previously. Goaltender interference means you are not allowed to keep the goalie from doing his job when he's in that blue paint around the net, the crease. If the goalie's in his crease, you are not allowed to touch him. So, or, do anything to impede what he's trying to do his job. So interference, you are not allowed to impede or check or, do anything to a player who doesn't have the puck. I hear this one called a lot. It's called, I won't say in every game I watch, but it's called very often. I actually saw one called last night when I was watching the playoffs. So those are the two minor penalties that I wanted to talk about today. Other than that, it has been interesting week for hockey. There have been some really, really good playoff games. I hope that those of you who are hockey fans have been able to watch some of them. Those of you who aren't, check your local listings. On Sundays, usually NBC plays hockey games in the afternoon. The last 2 Sundays, it's been about 3 o'clock. Sometimes it's around noon. Really, really been enjoying it. We're in round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs now. The Senators and the Penguins are going at each other, and the Bruins and the Rangers are going at each other. Those are the 2 Eastern matchups. In the West, we have the Detroit Red Wings and the Chicago Blackhawks, and also the LA Kings and San Jose Sharks. So interesting series going on here. My hope is for the final matchup for the Stanley Cup. I'm hoping for the Bruins versus Detroit. We will see. That's not a really good chance of that happening, but ideally for my enjoyment, that would be awesome. Bruins versus Red Wings, because I like both of those teams. So, of course, that makes it hard too, because then you don't know who to root for. It's like, who do I want to win? And then every time somebody scores a goal, you're trying to cheer and say, oh no, at the same time. But the life of a hockey fan whose team didn't make the playoffs. Oh, as far as my teams go, there is actually a little bit of Carolina Hurricanes news. The International Ice Hockey Federation, I believe, the IIHF, national competition, or international competition, excuse me, has been going on for the past several weeks. And NHL players whose teams didn't make the playoffs or who have already been eliminated from the playoffs will often play in this tournament. Eric Staal, the captain for the Carolina Hurricanes, was playing in this tournament and took a knee-on-knee hit and went down in a world of hurt, and it looked terrible. It looked really bad. I believe the player who hit him was Edler. I'm not positive. It's hard to keep track of all of the hockey. I did get to watch a little bit of this tournament, not very much, just a few minutes here and a few minutes there. they're taking place in Europe, so it's like the middle of the night when it's on usually. But anyway, Eric Stahl was sent straight home to Raleigh to have an MRI done to, see how bad the damage to his knee was. And thank goodness, it's only a third-degree MCL sprain. Will not require surgery. He will have about 3 months of rehab to get back to full health again, but he should not miss any time in the upcoming season, thank goodness. um, it's always really scary when any player gets hurt, and unfortunately, it makes NHL teams second guess allowing their players to play in these international competitions when they get hurt like this. Um, right now, I don't believe they've come to a decision yet. The NHL is threatening, well, not really threatening, but there is some question as to whether the NHL is going to allow their players to participate in the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. I really hope that they will allow the players to compete. While I would prefer for the Olympics to be completely amateur athletes, um, if some countries are going to allow their professionals to play, then they all should be allowed to play. So I'm hoping, since the rules are what they are, that the NHL will allow their players to play. I can't imagine that they would put a ban on that. I just can't even imagine. There are several players, I think, who would leave their NHL teams in order to play for their national teams in the Olympics, particularly the Russian ones, because the Olympics are in their country this coming year. So anyway, other news I found out, this is Checkers Hurricanes centric. I found out that next season Zach Dalpe will not be able to be put on waivers to be sent back down. Basically, that means it's going to be a lot more difficult for the Hurricanes to send him back down to the minor leagues once he's been called up. So they're going to have to think extra hard before sending him back down. I'm really, really hoping that this is Zach's year coming up, that he's going to make the team right off the bat out of training camp, and that he's going to stick with the Hurricanes. I realize that it's possible he will be traded over the summer, or that he will be put on waivers and sent back down, which means another team can claim him. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. I think his time has come, and we'll just have to wait and see. That's the way it works. Nothing I can do. You feel kind of powerless as a fan, but that's all right. Hopefully here in a few months I will be buying myself a Hurricanes jersey with the number 22 and Dalpe on the back. Because when he makes the Hurricanes, I will be buying his jersey. Absolutely, positively, 100% know this for sure. All right, I think that's about it for Hockey Talk today. I've just been watching the playoffs, and it's been some really good hockey. If you don't watch a lot of hockey, or you never have watched hockey before, highly recommend watching some playoff hockey, because that's hockey at its very best. There's only been a couple of games that have sort of been ho-hum, and the rest of them have just been edge of your seat, just really, really good hockey. So check it out. Again, check your NBC listings. The other games are being played on the other NBC networks, NBC Sports Network, even some of them on CNBC, and I think those are the only ones. But anywho, that's it for Hockey Talk. Let's get into just a little post-game chatter. Probably going to be a little bit light on the post-game chatter today. We'll start with the 1-minute mom update. I spent last weekend in Raleigh with her Mother's Day weekend after her most recent chemo treatment, and a little bit of a rough time, but that's pretty normal with chemo, and she's keeping her spirits up for the most part, but we really appreciate your prayers and your good thoughts and your good mojo. Keep sending that stuff our way, especially Mom's way. She has 2 more treatments left, and then we'll be looking at surgery and radiation. So just keep us in your thoughts and prayers. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, so yay for that. Other than that, I know it's been 2 weeks since I've talked to y'all, but it's been such a whirlwind, I don't really know what to talk about. So I thought I would share with you one of my favorite things again. And I know a lot of you have heard of these products before. A lot of podcasters use them, and for good reason. I am one of the many Wolf Farms fans here in podcast world. The way I do my fragrances and everything, I order from Don and James, who own Wolf Farms, about, I don't know, every 4 months or so, and I will order a few different flavors and switch it up every few months just so I can still smell what I'm wearing, and I'm less likely to put too much on and overpower people. I probably think more about that than a lot of people just because of the profession that I'm in and how close I am to my clients. I go very light on any kind of scented products when I'm working, of course. Anyway, um, just last week I got to start on my new fragrance for the summer months, and I know it's not summer yet, but it's getting close. I started using the Wolf Farms honeysuckle soap and the honeysuckle lotion. And this stuff smells so good. I feel like I'm walking down a street where I grew up, and there was a big bank of honeysuckle on the street where I used to walk with my best friend, one of my best friends who lived in my neighborhood. So, Lee, if you watch, you'll remember that, and you told me all about honeysuckle back then. So, she, Dawn and James have a lot of different scents, tons of different scents. They do a lot of fruity and food flavored or food kind of scents. They do way more of those. They have several florals and a few earthy or woody fragrances as well. I tend toward the florals or a couple of the different fruity ones I like. They do lip balms, they do candles. They have the best evergreen, I think it's called Santa's Christmas Tree Farm around Christmas time, and it really smells like a pine tree. It's wonderful. But if you're interested in checking out Wolf Farms, here is their information. Here we go. wolffarms.net. Highly recommend. They have super fast shipping and wonderful customer service. Dawn and James have a podcast called Wolf Farms, and every week for the last several weeks they have offered a free lip balm with the purchase of $10 or more before shipping from their shop. It's a different flavor every week, so you'll have to watch their podcast to find out which flavor it is. So I may do that soon. I need a new candle or two. So anyway, I think that's going to be about it for this week. So until next time, may all of your fiber arts projects and your favorite hockey teams stay out of the penalty box. Bye-bye.